The Terrible Habits of Tyrants. 10 Shocking Facts About Dictators' Dreadful Behaviors. History's most infamous rulers have left behind legacies of terror, control, and chaos. Yet beyond their political actions, many had bizarre, shocking, and sometimes downright repugnant personal habits. From grotesque eating rituals to paranoia-fueled practices, these dictators and monarchs reveal the strange ways in which absolute power shaped their lives. Here are 10 of the most scandalous and shocking habits of rulers throughout history. Number 1. Nero's insatiable bloodlust and wild orgies. Nero, Emperor of Rome, 54 to 68 AD, epitomized tyranny and decadence. His infamous orgies involved elaborate feasts, flowing wine, and grotesque performances of violence. Roman historian Suetonius recounted Nero's cruel enjoyment of watching Christians burned alive to light his garden parties, a scene so horrific it later inspired artistic depictions of martyrdom. Nero's murder of his mother, Agrippina, after she opposed his rule, stands as one of history's darkest acts of filial betrayal. He reportedly tricked her onto a collapsible boat meant to drown her, but when she survived, he ordered her assassination, sparking widespread outrage. His wife, Poppaea Sabina, also met a gruesome fate, allegedly kicked to death by Nero in a fit of rage while she was pregnant. Nero's grandiosity was unmatched. He forced Rome's elites to attend his musical and theatrical performances, locking doors to prevent their escape. His chilling maxim, "Let them hate me, so long as they fear me," perfectly captured his reign. Number 2. Ivan the Terrible's cannibalistic feasts. Ivan IV of Russia, known as the Terrible, 1530 to 1584, was a ruler whose reign blended grandeur with grotesque cruelty. Ivan's psychological instability manifested in numerous ways, most notoriously in his practice of forcing enemies to eat the cooked remains of their loved ones during sadistic banquets. Ivan surrounded himself with the Oprichnina, a secret police force established in 1565 to eliminate political opposition. The Oprichniki, dressed in black and riding black horses, spread terror across Russia, executing tens of thousands with methods that included dismemberment, impalement, and boiling. Perhaps the darkest moment of Ivan's life occurred in 1581 when, in a fit of rage, he struck his son Ivan Ivanovich on the head with his staff, killing him instantly. This impulsive act not only left Ivan devastated but also plunged Russia into a succession crisis that would contribute to the Time of Troubles. Ivan's court itself was a theater of horror, featuring a collection of torture devices that he occasionally used to entertain his guests. Despite his sadistic tendencies, Ivan was deeply religious, often justifying his atrocities as divine retribution. Number 3. Caligula's peculiar pet projects. Caligula, Roman emperor from 37 to 41 AD, transformed his reign into a bizarre spectacle of excess and cruelty. His peculiar obsession with his horse, Incitatus, led to the animal receiving marble stables, a collar of precious jewels, and an ivory manger. According to historian Suetonius, Caligula even planned to make Incitatus a consul, possibly to mock the Senate. Whether this was genuine or an exaggerated rumor, it highlighted his disdain for Roman traditions. Caligula's games in the Colosseum were equally unsettling. If there were not enough gladiators, he would order random spectators to be thrown to wild animals, ensuring entertainment for the crowd. Caligula also declared himself a living god, building temples in his honor and forcing the populace to worship him. His unbridled arrogance and cruelty culminated in his assassination by the Praetorian Guard in 41 AD. His death marked the end of a reign that became a byword for insanity and tyranny. Number 4. Mao Zedong's refusal to bathe. Chairman Mao Zedong, the leader of Communist China from 1949 until his death in 1976, shocked those around him with his disdain for basic hygiene. According to Dr. Li Jisui, Mao's personal physician, the chairman believed that bathing was unnecessary and instead relied on swimming to cleanse himself. Mao's refusal to brush his teeth was equally appalling. He claimed the abrasive nature of tea leaves sufficed for dental care. Over time, this practice resulted in rotting teeth, chronic halitosis, and gum disease, which became infamous among his staff. Mao's personal life was as scandalous as his hygiene. He maintained a harem of young women, some of whom he knowingly infected with venereal diseases, believing it was their honor to serve him. Mao's indifference to their well-being reflected his broader disregard for human life, as seen in policies like the Great Leap Forward, which caused the deaths of millions through famine. Despite these personal and political failings, Mao's cult of personality shielded him from widespread public criticism during his lifetime. Number 5. King Henry VIII's gluttonous banquets and unhinged paranoia. Henry VIII of England, 1491 to 1547, is infamous for his 6 marriages, but his personal habits also earned him a notorious reputation. Consuming up to 5,000 calories per meal, Henry enjoyed extravagant banquets featuring roasted swan, peacock pies, and spiced wines. His kitchens employed over 200 staff to prepare these feasts, which contributed to his extreme obesity and health problems later in life. Henry's paranoia was legendary. He established an extensive network of spies to monitor his court, and any hint of disloyalty often led to swift executions. 2 of his wives, Anne Boleyn and Catherine Howard, were beheaded under charges of treason and adultery, though many historians believe the accusations were politically motivated. Henry's later years were marked by mood swings and chronic pain from festering leg ulcers, which added to his erratic behavior. Despite his physical decline, Henry wielded absolute authority until his death, shaping England's religious and political landscape for generations. Number 6. Adolf Hitler's bizarre diet and medical obsessions. Adolf Hitler presented himself as a vegetarian, yet his diet included meat-based dishes like liver dumplings, contradicting his public image. His personal physician, Dr. Theodor Morell, administered a host of unconventional treatments, including amphetamine injections, animal gland extracts, and opiates. Hitler's reliance on these drugs escalated during World War II, contributing to his erratic behavior and declining health. Paranoid about illness, Hitler avoided physical contact and implemented strict hygiene protocols among his staff. Morell's controversial methods have led some historians to speculate that Hitler's deteriorating mental state in the final years of the war was partly due to drug-induced psychosis. These bizarre habits, coupled with his catastrophic leadership, cemented his place as one of history's most notorious figures. Number 7. Putin's obsession with personal security and alleged use of body doubles. Vladimir Putin, Russia's president since 2000, has faced persistent rumors about using body doubles for public appearances. Observers have pointed to changes in his facial structure and physical mannerisms as potential evidence. While the Kremlin denies these allegations, the theories are bolstered by Putin's known obsession with personal security. His food and drink are meticulously tested for poison, and he travels with a portable toilet to prevent foreign agents from analyzing his DNA. Putin's preference for paper documents over digital technology reflects his fear of surveillance and hacking. These extraordinary precautions underscore his paranoia, which some critics argue borders on the absurd. Number 8. Gaddafi's Amazonian Bodyguard Brigade. Muammar Gaddafi, 1942 to 2011, cultivated a mystique with his all-female bodyguard unit, the Amazonian Guard. These women, reportedly chosen for their loyalty and combat skills, pledged celibacy but later alleged systemic abuse. Gaddafi's traveling Bedouin tent, complete with exotic animals and luxurious furnishings, symbolized his eccentric rule. His excesses ultimately alienated the Libyan people, leading to his violent overthrow in 2011. Number 9. Leopold II's atrocities in the Congo. King Leopold II of Belgium, 1835 to 1909, exploited the Congo Free State as his personal empire, enforcing rubber quotas with whips and mutilations. Soldiers under his command cut off the hands of those who failed to meet quotas, creating a macabre economy of human suffering. The regime claimed an estimated 10 million lives, a dark chapter in colonial history. Despite international condemnation, Leopold lived in opulence, constructing grand palaces funded by Congolese blood and labor. Number 10. Fidel Castro's dairy obsession. Fidel Castro, Cuba's revolutionary leader from 1959 to 2008, had a peculiar fixation on dairy products, especially ice cream. He was said to consume vast quantities in a single sitting, often combining it with cigars during marathon meals. His obsession with dairy led him to initiate an ambitious agricultural experiment in the 1970s, breeding a super cow capable of extraordinary milk production. The most famous result of this effort was Uber Blanca, white udder, a cow that reportedly produced over 100 liters of milk per day, breaking world records. To showcase his love for ice cream, Castro opened Capilia, an enormous ice cream parlor in Havana, which became a symbol of Cuba's socialist ambitions. Despite Cuba's economic struggles, Castro maintained a personal supply of dairy products, often imported from abroad. His dairy obsession reflected a broader pattern of contradictions in his rule, mixing revolutionary austerity with indulgent personal habits. One of Castro's infamous quotes about his fixation came during an ice cream binge, where he declared, "Revolutions and dairy, they both require dedication." This peculiar passion persisted until his final years, remaining a quirky footnote in the story of his larger-than-life leadership.